I'm citizens of New York, so how can you think yourself more knowledge than me? About the Twin Towers matter, 75 professors of many disciplines of sciences believe that 9/11 was the inside job. 75 professors from many different universities and many different countries in United States itself. They said they don't believe the theory from the government, George Bush at that time. They said some politicians in the White House engineered the destruction of the Twin Tower. They also said that the main reason was to make an excuse that could be legitimated on invading more oil-rich countries. You know, the first country was Iraq. A hoax accusation of weapon mass destruction which never been proven till nowadays. Professor Steve Jones said, "We don't believe that 19 hijackers from the cave of Afghanistan could have made such a professional attack. We don't believe it. And by God, we're gonna come to the truth and to the bottom of it." As a professor and scientist, he exposed that we know that the beam constructions of the Twin Tower could not have been melted in such of that short time. At the temperature, even when it is increased by the jet fuel of that plane, the melting point of steel ranges from 2,500 to 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit, or 1371 to 1540 degrees Celsius. Jet fuel burns at between 800 to 1500 degrees Fahrenheit ambient pressure, only half of it. So it's just impossible. How could thousands of steel beams in the middle of the building melted so fast and ruin the building symmetrically straight down? The eyewitnesses confirmed that there were systematically bomb explosions down the basement that made the building collapse just like that. 3 days after that statement, Professor Steve Jones was paid leave and never heard of him anymore. A 21-year-old boy made a documentary video titled Loose Chain of 9/11s. He collected various video clips from many different sources, Fox Channel, CNN, YouTube interviews, etc. He said that one of eyewitnesses saw that plane was not look like a commercial plane. It was not a passenger carrier. It was more like a military plane. It doesn't have any windows. And it fired from the wings that hit the building a few milliseconds before the body crashed into the building. A senior pilot, who had experienced many years of flying Boeings, Airbuses, and several other planes, he said in the interview that no passenger plane could do such maneuver. It has to be a military plane. If it was a passenger plane, it has to be a very, very experienced pilot who drives it. So can you imagine? The hijackers from the cave of Afghanistan, alqaeda, they said, had a very, very expert for flying the passenger plane and made a maneuver like that. That even a very senior pilot that has many experiences hours of flown, he said he can't do it. Okay. The construction company that built the Twin Tower itself said it is impossible that the steel beams of that building that were designed to survive from the storms and tornadoes could have melted so fast and collapsed just like that. He explained how the thousands of the steel beams of that building were very clear, but 10 days later, he changed his statement. So he survived with his company, while Professor Steve Jones was not. Other statistic advisors gave the data of many cases of the tall buildings in New York, skyscrapers 40 floors, 60 floors that caught a fire for many hours, and it didn't collapse. So the Twin Tower was the first, and maybe the only building that collapsed that way, structurally. Another witness heard the blasting explosions in a rhythmic row, so he thought that someone pushed the ignition button, started from the bottom of the building. Cause if it didn't start from the bottom, then it wouldn't be straight down like that. The first firemen and some rescuers found that there was some kind of lasting burning magma down the basement. The heat lasting for hours and melting everything, include the steel and iron. So he defined it as chemical stuffs, and it was confirmed by the security officer who eyewitnessed that some minivans unloaded some white bags contained powders in the basement a few hours before the plane crashed. Then the black box of the plane, it was designed to be undamaged by the crash, could stand for temperature maximum 3,000 degrees of Fahrenheit, but it's just gone out of nowhere. There are many evidences that argued the theory of the government while the government also gave such proof that it seems like made up. They gave a recorded phone call from the passenger inside the hijacked plane calling his mum. Said, "Mum, it's me, Mark Bingham, speaking. Can you hear me, Mum? I have been hijacked. Can you believe it? If I had to call my own mother, I don't have to say my full name. Mum, it's Kim." Or she would recognize my voice very well. And by the latest data, in 2001, there was no cell phone signal that could work at the height of 22,000 feet. The possibility was 0.06%, or impossible, but they used it as evidence. I can give more evidence, but you must be denied or asked anything else just to cover it.